Welcome to the second Alliance Talks on collaboration. We're really excited. We've got a lot of new faces here today, and we want to let you know that we're about networking between all of the trades, but we're also about bringing intelligent programming to the design, architectural landscape, everybody working in residential design projects. But without further ado, let me introduce the moderator, Irena Skoda.
Welcome, everybody. Today's discussion, as you all know, is a very informative one, as last time we had spoken about home trends in the design world. Now we're going to talk about the actual business side of it and how collaboration is really impacting how we create those designs into realities. As you know, a successful project cannot happen without a team, right? We have designers, architects, contractors, specialty consultants, vendors, everybody who's anybody on the project. To make it a reality has to be a team player. And a lot of times we have so much going on that there is issues, as we all know. So we're going to go about and talk about some of these things and see what insights we can come up with, how our industry can actually become a much, much more involved and easier industry to deal with. And of course, bring out the best products and designs and buildings that we can. So I'm going to ask the panelists to introduce themselves. We'll start down with John.
Hi, I'm John Stark. I'm the principal and designer at Showcase Kitchens, located in Manhasset, New York.
Hello, Nino Iannone, Argyle Construction, general contractor. I do 90% of my work here in Manhasset.
Hi, my name is John Niewender. I'm the building commissioner of the town of North Hempstead, and I'm here to kind of absorb what you folks all do. I know what you do. You have a feeling you know what I do, but to better understand your side of it, so I can improve my side of it. So this is going to be an interesting night.
Hi, my name is Joe Calise, newly recruited technology guy for the DBA. I am the owner and principal of Sights and Sounds. We're based out of Seaford, and we do smart home technology.
So, panelists, we all know what it takes to make a great product, a building, right? We all know what it takes. What is your take on a successful project first? In general, project.
I would say collaboration is probably one of the most essential things, where everybody comes together and makes a project happen in a very synchronized way.
Mm-hmm. And what have you found that the roles of the professionals or the individuals on the team, how have they changed?
I don't think they've changed. I think the industry's changed, and we've sort of had to evolve around the various different technological advances, the various material advances. Mm-hmm. Collaboratively, we've had to kind of come together to make it all work, but I don't think we've had to change the way we do it as much.
Okay. Pass the mic to Nino. What is your input on the role of the team players in making a successful project?
I think at the end of the day, it's the team needs to be comprised of a bunch of like-minded individuals. I think in general, most projects in the beginning stages, everyone has to be honest with themselves and making sure they're hiring and creating a group that's going to meet everyone's expectations.
Okay, from my perspective, the team is already assembled, and it comes to my office for a submission and a review. My new initiative is to have my people understand what you folks have put into that, and how we view that. We can view it better. I don't want to send out omission letters We know that that's time. If that costs time, that costs money. The team is not in sync, and what I mean by that is, the drawing doesn't fit the design exactly, and so we'll make a note, and then we'll make a comment on it, and then an amendment will come in, but the amendment now has just knocked your design out of the box, and now we're all in disarray. So that's a part that, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the part that I want my team to understand a little bit more what goes into it, so we can get it out to you quicker. We try to do the changes and the fixes in the field now, instead of you waiting a crazy amount of time to get your new drawing in.
So one thing that has happened is when projects come on board, we go back and forth, we go to the redesign phase, or something happens that something has to be changed. Well, in construction, it's even worse, right? When you have to redo something when it's in construction. So what happens? Who's left paying that bill, so to speak? And it's always our clients. And our clients are calling us back and, saying, when is this going to get done, and et cetera, and why isn't the timeline on time? And in the end, it's costing our clients a good deal of money, and our industry needs to be up and performing at that anticipated expectation. So the expectation of where we are right now, where do you think clients are best served? How do we serve them best?
I think the teamwork is the biggest aspect of collaboration. I mean, the contractor wants to have a good frame guy, the frame guy wants to have a good sheetrocker, and so on and so on. And it's all part of being a good team, because that's how it's ultimately going to be the best for the client. Everybody loves entertainment in their home, right? But when you're digging the ground for the foundation, it's the last thing you're thinking about. You have many other things to think about. So from my perspective, we're used to being at the bottom of the totem pole because nobody wants to talk to us when they're cutting in the foundation and pouring cement. But at the end of the project, we're the first person that they come to. They say, where's my TV? How come it's not over there? Well, if you don't collaborate and teamwork and plan those things from the beginning, these are the problems we have at the end of the project. So it's very interesting from where we sit, because nobody wants to talk to us in the beginning, but we're the most important thing at the end. That's how we see it.
Everybody has heard of IPD, right? Integrated Project Delivery. It's basically, if you know anything about it, it's an incentive to do on-time projects, right? So the team essentially gets us incentive, financial incentive. Now, we can go that route and say, we can bring our project team together and collaborate and bring the project on time and on budget, and it'll mean a profit for everybody. So there's some incentives. Do you feel those are strong to begin with, like to have a team that is incentivized?
I would love to be incentivized.
Yeah, wouldn't you?
I think at the end of the day, I think that concept works really well. Nobody wants to be penalized. In my world, it doesn't really always boil down to that, though. I mean, I'm like the second to the last in, basically, compared to the audio-video. But, I mean, I think this really is a question probably for Nino, because that he starts the project off from the very, very onset. And I'm sure from his world it would be the kind of thing that, he would probably come across a lot more than I would.
I agree. Incentives are great. On the level, at the residential level, I don't know if that pot's going to be fat enough. Okay, you can incentivize me, but what am I going to do with that extra money? Do I just yell at the guy some more? No. I think, communication, someone who's really spearheading a project really makes the difference. I don't know that money's going to change that kind of thing. What is an incentive to us in our industry is the next client. So we want to finish on time and make sure that the client's going to be happy with everything, so that they tell their friend, their aunt, their next door neighbor, these guys were the real deal. And that's ultimately, I think, the goal, the way I see it. I don't know that a few extra dollars is going to make the difference. Like I said, I don't even know if that money's even there.
everything that comes into us is usually a change. To be honest, I don't know how you architects do it. I don't know how you go back to the person and say, this change you made has to be redrawn by me. This puts you outside of the floor area ratio. This puts you too high. This puts you... It runs the gamut. I really don't know how you would handle it. On my end, to help that a little bit, I think we could be a little more vanilla in our approach to get it to the field. You can manage it a little bit easier. It keeps moving. I'm not going to speak for the contractors, for the architects, design professionals, but that's what we could do to help. And I think if everybody gives a little bit to help, money is everything when you're doing a project. And I know we call them constituents, you have clients. It changes. All it takes is walking the dog past someone's house and, oh, I want that. That's the way it goes, you know. And then we're seeing the architect back in a day or two saying, I need to change this or I want to change that. But all I can say up here is, you know, I could do my best to work with you on this, on my end, on the government end of it. How you guys handle it, I don't know how you're going to do that, but good luck.
Maybe we come up with a way to integrate the building department's role with ours, because what we're finding is a lot of time the process of architectural design is tedious, and it's a process. But what happens when you get to a certain point, because there's others involved later down the road, instead of up front, those changes come later. So there's a say where I think, in general, some of these interactions with the building department should happen forefront. And maybe you find that same... What
we're trying to put together
input
now is a summary of filing for the constituent client to get a an outline of what to expect should there be changes, what's entailed, where it could go, where it's going to go, how it could stop the process. No one likes to stop the process. It's okay if they clear the change with the architect. The crew is not ready. The crew has to move to another job. You can't get them back for a few weeks. You know, everybody plays a role here. But I think education and cooperation is the key.
I actually work with a builder, I'll keep nameless, but his architect still draws with a pencil. So when there's a change and something is needed, it's a process. And if we ask for a copy of plans, it's a process. So
at least there's no typos.
But it all goes back to that original meeting of when you come in on the project and making sure that this is going to be the right team for it.
So much of our industry, in fact, I'm glad you brought up drawing. We're so used to saying that we can make a change really fast because we're doing it in AutoCAD. Not necessarily so. I mean, AutoCAD might be a drafting tool, but it doesn't take away the mind, of how you're supposed to use that software and how you make an educated decision on the actual project itself. So what I'm finding is more integrated projects like BIM. Has everyone heard of BIM? Building Information Modeling. Integrated, technologies such as this will streamline. Because what happens so many times is we want to see the 3D, we want to see the plan, we want to see all these different facets. And design is changing so fast that, the collaborative end of it has to be also fast. And we can only be as fast as we can be, right? We're not machines, we're still human. So definitely, where does technology play into our collaborative, successes?
Seriously, if you started talking about the IPD, Integrated Project Development, which is kind of like the new modern word for design development team, or design build, which is as a team. And currently, I think the big problem that we have, and that we'll continue to have until things change a lot, is we're all in individual silos. We have engineers, we have architects, we have decorators, we have particular trades such as the smart home, the the kitchen and all the specialty components that belong. So until you bring them together early into the process, they're going to stay as silos. And so it's incumbent upon the team leader, whoever that is, and oftentimes the architect, to pull that together. And then there's this funny period where it's almost like a series of vestibules with a door. You have to stand in the vestibule, lock the one behind you, open the one in front of you, and get to the next one. And it just keeps going. And until that 1 foot in front of the other process can be brought into, everyone in the same room, it's just going to be slow and waiting on one another. And then the last door is what I call the crystal ball door. That's that passage across. Well, we think the building department will interpret it this way. We think we've expressed all of our requirements in the blueprints, and we think the builder will interpret it this way, and we hope the bids will be that. And that crystal ball is crossing across that prism is, I think, the big problem. So if we could put some people in that prism, and if perhaps I don't know if it's something, John, that the building department is thinking of doing, but some sort of hybrid outreach program that's almost like in villages they call it the pre-planning or the planning department. Pre-approval. The pre-approval. So you have a conference room, sort of meeting to just at least find out what zip code we're in, and that would be terrific, because the way it is now, you draw it, you send it to bid, oops, rebuild it, and back and forth. And so until that can be simplified somehow, and this is the somehow I'm throwing out for discussion, it's just going to stay the same old way. So.
Yeah, it seems like we're going down the railroad tracks and coming to each and every stop, and yet we have to step back, come.
Yeah, TJ, what I envision and what's reality, yeah, we could do that. We'd have to set the parameters as to, wouldn't be for a portico, or it wouldn't be for, there'd be some criteria for that. But I think what you're saying is a good idea. We do that now, as you know, on some of the bigger commercial projects, and it's working out pretty well. The residential, yeah, I don't see. It might be a little easier in residential than commercial, but that's a point well taken.
One thing, as a contractor, you have a particularly important role in this question, and a lot of times it's just Greek to customers to know what these terms are of FBO and NIC, furnished by owner and non-contract. And as you bid out the job, you know what you're not doing. Mm-hmm. It's important to be clear what you're not doing. So say the tiles aren't being done by you because the customer might want to pick those out of the toilets or whatever. So a lot of times, to answer your question, I think a contractor, what can be done better, it should be clear about who's doing what, specifically who's not doing what, and who's laughed at would therefore fall in. So by breaking it down early, that will help everybody. Because it's a money issue. Everything's a money issue.
Who's doing the purchasing, how I price my project, how you price your project.
Right.
So the earlier everybody knows.
Yeah, everyone needs to make nice, essentially. It's what it comes down to. I think we also have a much smaller clientele. Everyone knows, what everything costs. You can get on Google and find out, what that count is going to be, and et cetera, et cetera.
One more thing is also at every stage, you should just pull the team in together and say, this is what's happening, this is what we're doing, this is the end goal, and make sure everybody understands that. And it should be a team effort. In the beginning stage, in the middle stages, and even at the end when the construction first starts and during it. So essentially, it's really being upfront.
I think the more upfront we can be, the more honest we can be with everybody, especially the client. We'll keep the client from running out of money and keep the job going smoothly so that it can get done for everybody.
Think about it, there are situations where projects can get over in budget, and the client decides, can't do this anymore. I can't. And they drop it. then everybody's at a loss. So, okay, very good. Any other insights? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. All right, thank you all. I hope you enjoyed this.